And in the days leading up to the Super Bowl, we've been taking a look at the security posture here and the different measures that have been taken by law enforcement to help secure the Super Bowl. So what we're going to do here is just kind of have a little bit of an informal discussion, almost sort of a reporter's notebook type discussion, where I'm going to talk about what we've been learning and just sort of share a little bit of information about what's been going on here. So as we start out, I just want to let everybody know that if you have any questions that maybe I'm not answering, or just anything that you might be interested in, be sure to leave a comment, and hopefully I can answer those questions. We'll have folks that are monitoring the social media feed relay those questions to me, and then I can try to answer them. So, of course, we are right outside of Levi's Stadium here. This is where kind of all the media are set up in this parking garage here. And outside of Levi's Stadium, there are different levels of security, a pretty tight perimeter around the stadium leading up to the game on Sunday. But there's also events that are taking place up in San Francisco as well. It's kind of almost like I guess a segmented type Super Bowl here. You've got the events in San Francisco and then the game actually here in Santa Clara. And up in San Francisco, also a lot of tight security. You've got the fan zone there near the Moscone Center, in the Moscone Center. And pretty much all the blocks around there are just really locked down. And this is a joint venture here. A lot of teamwork is taking place between local, state, and then also federal law enforcement. This is what is known, the Super Bowl is what's known as a Special Event Assessment Rating Level 1 event, a SEER 1 event. So this is the highest federal security classification for a high-profile event like this. So we're seeing coordination with the FBI, DHS, and then also, of course, local law enforcement. And earlier this week, we actually got to go up in the air with Customs and Border Protection and see their operations as they patrol the skies around the Super Bowl. So it was with their Air and Marine Operations team. And we got to do a few laps around the Super Bowl, around Levi's Stadium here, and we checked out their equipment. And they have got these really high-power cameras, essentially, that they can zoom in and see what's going on. And they're going to be helping to enforce the no-fly zone on game day. Now, early in the morning on game day, there's going to be a 2-mile perimeter around Levi's Stadium here that's going to be off limits. And then during the game itself, until about 8:30 local time, they're going to have a 30-mile no-fly zone. And that also applies to drones as well. Now, earlier in the season, there was actually an incident where somebody flew a drone here outside of Levi's Stadium unpermitted, and that person is facing federal charges. Anybody caught flying a drone outside of Levi's Stadium in the no-fly zone during game day, they could face fines of up to $75,000 and also federal charges. So they're taking that really, really seriously. Now, when it comes to CBP and their enforcement operations around Levi's Stadium, what I thought was really interesting is just sort of the climate that we're in right now. We talked to the pilot. We actually got them on camera talking to us, but CBP asked us to not show their face and not have their name on camera, essentially because there's a lot of doxing incidents that are going on right now with CBP. And this is due in large part to the atmosphere right now with immigration enforcement. ICE will not be here at the Super Bowl. That's the word from the NFL and also from federal officials. And also CBP is not going to be conducting immigration enforcement operations. That's what they've told us. Their main mission is all about safety. So they'll be enforcing that no-fly zone around the stadium with helicopters. They've got a smaller helicopter and then also a Black Hawk. And then there's also going to be, not CBP, but there's going to be a military aircraft flying higher above, some jet aircraft to enforce that no-fly zone. Again, a 30-mile circumference around the stadium, so a pretty large no-fly zone during the game. So, no-fly zones, they are typical, again, during a large event like this, and especially during the Super Bowl. So this is pretty standard operating procedure. And then in the days leading up to the Super Bowl, there's also been a nuclear detection helicopter that's been flying around the San Francisco Bay Area. So that's operated by the Department of Energy's National Nuclear Security Administration. So this nuclear detection helicopter, it essentially scans for background radiation and tries to pick up any abnormal levels of radiation That's also normal for a big event like this, a Sear 1 event, as they call it. So that's what's been going on, from the national level. Customs and Border Protection, again, they're going to be scanning the skies during the event. They've been flying overhead for the past couple of days, showing us what they've been doing. And then also, CBP has been in charge of scanning trucks, other objects that have been going into the stadium, making sure that nothing nefarious is going in. And then they've also been conducting operations at ports of entry to make sure that that contraband, essentially counterfeit goods, namely counterfeit apparel and other NFL-related counterfeit items, haven't been coming into our ports of entry. So that's also been something that's going on. We don't have exact numbers right now as far as how many law enforcement officials will be on the ground during the Super Bowl. I think it's safe to say that hundreds, if not thousands, of law enforcement officials will be conducting enforcement operations, making sure that everybody is safe. But again, big takeaways is that ICE will not be conducting immigration enforcement operations, and that CBP, their main mission here is all about safety. So those are kind of the main takeaways that we've seen so far. So again, just wanted to give sort of an overview of the things that we've been seeing and what sort of things look like on the ground. Want to answer some folks' questions. And again, if you have any questions, make sure you type it in the chat box and have that ready for me. So let's see, it looks like we've got a few questions here. So what did the pilots say their biggest concern was for security during the Super Bowl? So I asked the pilot, what are they looking forward to, or what do they see happening during the Super Bowl? Their main mission is to enforce that no-fly zone sort of in the lower levels, and then also to look out for any potential threats. And something that is likely going to be happening is there are likely going to be some types of protests around the Super Bowl. Folks who want to protest, this is a high-profile event. This really gets their message out. And so, of course, it is your First Amendment right to be able to protest, and so they're not going to be stopping anyone from protesting, but their main concern is to make sure that those protests don't get out of hand, that there isn't any violence associated with that, and so they're just going to be keeping an eye on everything. Again, we got to take a look at the equipment that they have on board these helicopters, and they've got these really powerful lenses where they're able to zoom on in, and it was pretty incredible. We were circling the field here, Levi Stadium, and we were able to zoom in on individuals that were watering the field at the time. So these are really powerful cameras that they use, and they're able to really zoom in on individuals and make sure that everything is happening safely. So again, it does seem that protests are going to be sort of their main, the main thing that might be different this year, but no major threats have been identified. And the security posture this year federal officials are saying it is the same as it has been in past Super Bowls. So let's see, we've got another question here. Did they mention any specific threats that are looming at the moment? Yeah, again, no specific threats right now that we've been told about. I'm sure that the FBI, other federal law enforcement officials have been monitoring, internet chatter, things like that, but we haven't been alerted to anything specific that might happen here at the Super Bowl. Again, it does seem like the security posture is similar to what it has been in years past. Let's see. Will law enforcement be watching the halftime show? Did they give an opinion on Bad Bunny performing? All right, that's a good question. So, of course, that is one of the main storylines that's been going on here, right? The controversy around the halftime performance with Bad Bunny. Just to recap for those who aren't aware, this past year, Bad Bunny, he decided to not conduct a tour in the mainland U.S. Instead, he had a residency in Puerto Rico, where he's from. And so his main reason for that was that he was worried that Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, they were going to conduct raids outside of his concerts. And so he didn't want that to happen. And so there has been some backlash to Bad Bunny performing because he has been very outspoken about immigration enforcement. He doesn't like it. And so there have been people who've been chiming in saying that he shouldn't be the halftime performer. But the NFL, they have been pretty staunchly on his side. And kind of the main messaging from the NFL has been, look, Bad Bunny, he is the biggest artist in the world right now, and this is pretty much the biggest stage in the world, and so it makes a lot of sense for him to be performing at the halftime show. Now, there is going to be an alternative halftime show that's going to be happening. That's being put on by Turning Point USA. Kid Rock, he's going to be the headliner for that halftime show. And, we went around San Francisco talking to football fans, trying to see if anybody was going to be tuning in. Gotta say, for the most part, people are going to be just tuning into the normal halftime show, although we did talk to a couple of people who said that they wanted to tune into the Turning Point USA All-American halftime show there. I gotta admit, I didn't ask any law enforcement officials if they are going to be tuning into that. I have to assume that any law enforcement who's going to be on the ground here, they're not going to be watching the entertainment. They're going to be looking out for security threats. So that's going to be their main focus. What is the craziest new technology they are using this year to enforce security? We didn't really get a look at any brand new technology. I assume that anything proprietary, anything that is brand new is going to be something that they're going to be keeping under wraps. They don't want the bad guys to know exactly what they're going to be using because they don't want the bad guys to try to get around said security measures. I do think, though, that the nuclear radiation detection helicopter has been a very interesting storyline that's been going on here on the security angle. They did send out a press release. The Department of Energy sent out a press release ahead of that helicopter flying around because there were some concerns that it might spark a little bit of alarm, but you can see on flight radar, that thing was making very tight laps. It looked like I saw, some flight radar images that were near downtown San Francisco. And essentially what it does is it monitors background radiation. So I believe there's 2 helicopters that the Department of Energy uses. One is based in Las Vegas and the other one is based back east. And they routinely go to high-profile events like this just to make sure that there isn't any nuclear threat that's been going on. Any official law enforcement weighing in on the energy field substation theory that's been floating around the internet? No. in short, no. There have been a lot of internet rumors about the practice field and about it causing injuries and things like that, but nothing official. Nobody's really been weighing in on that. But that's definitely something that's been creating a lot of chatter online, and it's an interesting storyline. But really, I think that most folks aren't really acknowledging it as something that's legitimate. Will Trump be there? No, Trump will not be here, or at least he is not anticipated to be here. I reached out also to Trump's nemesis at this moment, California Governor Gavin Newsom. I reached out to their office to see if the governor will be here. No word on if Governor Newsom will be at the stadium for the Super Bowl. It makes a lot of sense for him to be here. We've also reached out to see if he'd like to do an interview with Fox News. Still waiting to hear back from them. Who are the most famous people expected to be there, and will they have extra security? That's a really great question. Honestly, I don't know, but I assume that there's going to be some really big stars here, as often show up to Super Bowls. And yeah, they usually travel with security details, their personal security details. I'm not really privy to the VIP treatment and how much security they actually get when they're inside the stadium. This is likely going to be one of the safest places to be really in the country on Super Bowl Sunday. I mean, where else in the world will you have fighter jets patrolling the skies above and have a 30-mile no-fly zone, when you're there. So this place is going to be pretty tightly locked down because, of course, they don't want anything happening, on national TV, right? This is a really high-profile event. Those VIPs, they have their own security measures that they take, but I'm not famous enough to really know what that means. My security team is me, myself. So that's that. Who am I rooting for? I'm originally from Northern California, so this is actually my home turf. I've never been to Levi's Stadium, so I've never actually been to a 49ers game, if you can believe it or not. I'm usually a baseball guy. Who am I rooting for? I guess because I'm based on the West Coast, I'm going to have to go for the Seahawks. But you know, I don't really have a dog in this fight. I'm just really excited to be there. I didn't even know if my media credential got me inside during the game, but apparently it does. So I'm just excited to be at the Super Bowl. So that should be a really cool thing. Let's see, we've got some more questions. Are they doing anything to celebrate America's 250th birthday? Not from my knowledge. I don't think that there's going to be anything specific happening, although there very well might be. I'm not really sure. You know, the Super Bowl, though, I gotta say, is just an incredible show. You know, it's just, there's so many different moving parts, so much effort and energy goes into it. It's just been really fascinating. This is my first time at a Super Bowl myself, just to see all the different components. You know, you've got the things that are going down here in Santa Clara, obviously outside of the stadium, all of the setup, just the tremendous effort that's put in just for members of the media to cover it. There's you know, everything that's going up in San Francisco at the Moscone Center. You've got Radio Row, where all of the sets for the different shows are going on. You've got radio reporters, print reporters, you know, tons of media from all over the world here. You've got the halftime show with Bad Bunny. You've got the pregame show with Green Day. You've got the controversy surrounding this thing. So it's definitely going to be interesting on Sunday. Not sure if there's going to be anything to celebrate America's 250th birthday, but it is definitely going to be quite the show no matter what. Let's see if we've got any more questions. Can you bring your team and us to the Super Bowl with you? Yeah, I mean, I think that everybody on the team is going to be able to get inside on game day. You know, we're gonna be just kind of standing by, I think, during the game. Got to be ready to go to air in case any big news breaks during the game or immediately after the game. So I think we're going to be ready for that, and then also we're going to be ready to go early on Monday morning. So yeah, we're going to be here inside and around the stadium. So everyone's going to get to watch. I'm not sure if we have seats exactly. I might just be wandering around, but just being inside during the Super Bowl, that's just absolutely a treat in itself. I'm so lucky to have this job. Will the Puppy Bowl have heightened security too? You know what? If it was up to me, the Puppy Bowl would have maximum security. Protect those puppies at all costs. I love the Puppy Bowl. Those guys are so cute. That looks like all the questions that we have for right now. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. And letting me kind of share what I've learned about the security measures that are being taken here at the Super Bowl. Some really fascinating stuff. I think the big takeaway, though, is that there's a lot of effort being put in to make sure that this game goes off without a hitch and that everybody stays safe. So thank you very much for watching this live stream, and be sure to tune in on Fox News. Thank you.